So hello, my name's Rob and this is Cattle Rabbit Scale Model Studios, and in this video I'm going to show you how I've been doing my desert bases for my Dark Angels. This is a really easy scheme to do. It frames the miniature beautifully. It's a really bright scheme, so if you are going for a darker armor colour up top, it doesn't have to be Dark Angels. This is a great way of framing your miniature and just really contrasting well. Super easy to do, and as always I will leave any information in the description box below, and if you enjoyed this video give it a thumbs up, chuck us a comment, and do consider subscribing as it really helps me out. But in this video I'm going to show you how I'm going to base this captain and this little watcher that I've got here, so let's get started. So I've got my miniatures, I've taken them off their respective bases I've had them on. As you can see here, they've got a little bit of a footprint. I'll show you how to tackle that and to work around that. But all I'm going to do for this video, I've got a 40mm base for the captain and a little 25mm for the watcher. The watcher's base is going to be kept really simple, but for the captain I'm going to add a few little stones. And here I've just got a little box of pebbles, stones that I just took off the beach one day. It's got a good variety of different sizes, and all I'm going to do here is I'm going to pop my guy on his base and I'm going to pick out some stones and just kind of get a feel for the position. I'm not going to stick anything down just yet, but I'm just going to make sure that I'm happy with the placement. I also really like using actual stones because on bigger models it just adds a little tiny bit of weight, which I think just helps in general. Once you are happy with the placement, which I think I've got it down to here, I'm just going to stick the stones down with a little bit of super glue. So my stones are stuck down. Super glue won't take long to dry, especially like if you've kept it indoors or it's a little bit warm. But all I'm going to do next is I'm going to paint my stones with Doombull Brown. So I've painted 2 coats of unthinned Doombull Brown onto my stones. That was just out the pot. We'll varnish these at the end, so don't worry about priming or anything like that first. I've never had anything chip off. Next we're going to use this. This is Desert Sand Ground Texture from Green Stuff World. It's really good, and I used a lot of it in my board build. If you haven't seen it, I'll link it in the top right hand corner now. This is a really good product. It's got very small granulars that I find scale really well with 28mm wargaming, so it's really believable. So all I'm going to do here is getting an old brush. I'm just going to scoop some out, and using like a dabbing motion, I'm just going to be really liberal with how much I put in. The nice thing about this, it's quite a thick mixture, but you can also spread it quite thinly if you need to. And what I'm trying to do here, especially round by things like these rocks, I'm pushing it right up against them. I want these to look like the rocks are embedded in the sand, so I'm building it up around them, as opposed to just rocks sitting on top of the sand. I think sometimes that's where bases can sometimes break that believability. It's all fantasy, but it looks like they've been placed on top and doesn't look quite natural. Doing it this way, I find, you can cover some of it up and give the illusion, as you see here, that some of them are actually embedded a little bit deeper. Just makes that little slice of ground, because that's what a base is really, a lot more believable. And that's something that I've always strived to on my type of bases. So I've left this secure now for about 25 minutes. I've given it a couple of blasts with the hairdryers. You can see here as the light catches it, it's quite a bright mixture, and under the studio lights it doesn't show up so well. But what you can actually do, and if you look, you can actually press it in. You can tell this because the top of the product will actually turn to like a matte finish. You can push it in, but it won't break the skin almost of the product. Then what you can do is you can actually push your miniature onto it and it will make an indentation of the footprint. So I don't know how well you can see that, because once again it's such a bright mixture. I actually have the indentation of that guy's foot and the rock that he's standing on. Now I've left them to fully cure. It's been about an hour and a half. That's the only thing I will say with this product. It does take a while, but next we're going to give the whole thing a wash with Seraphim Sepia. Everything from this moment on is all brushwork. It gets so much easier. Just make sure you're covering the whole thing, and that it's quite an even spread. On the bigger base, I wash over absolutely everything, including the rocks, and then I'm going to leave this to dry for about 15-20 minutes. So there's our bases. What a difference. Obviously it's gone very crusty and yellow. So now what we're going to do, we've got some nice depth. We're going to bring this right back up to a nice bright scorched desert sand. Now I tend to use brushes like this. These are from Primark, which is a big clothes shop in the UK. But for this, I'm going to use this type of brush. This is a foundation brush, I think. It cost me about £2, once again from Primark in the UK. Makeup brushes make excellent dry brushes, and that's what a lot of the work is going to be now. The first colour we're going to use is Ushabti Bone. And all I'm going to do is, once again, I haven't got as much off. It's more like an overbrush at the moment. I'm just once again going to just go at it, cover absolutely everything. The rocks, just make sure everything gets a really good, and you'll see that detail start to come out and the base will start to lighten, because that's really what we're aiming for now. So as you can see, there's quite a bit of difference there. Dry brushing lends itself really well to this technique because it does leave that chalky texture. We're now going to repeat that process with Screaming Skull. This is more like the colour that we want. We want that really bleached sand colour. Same again, I haven't removed all of the paint, and I am just taking my time here, making sure that I'm really bringing that up to almost like a near white off cream colour. Once again, I do absolutely everything, the rocks. If you do find that it's not building up colour enough, you can actually put a little bit of paint on, remove some excess, and then dab it on to really build up a bit of texture. Now, if you're happy, fantastic. But what we can actually do is push this a little bit further. And for this, what I am going to do is I'm going to use some Wraithbone, and all I'm going to do is focus this on the rocks and just towards the edges of the base. So now our bases are done. What we can actually do is jazz them up a little bit more using some tufts. I never know what these are called. I always used to know them as mordant corpse grafts, but I think they're called something else. Now these are just the dead grass tufts that Games Workshop sell. You get a big pack of them. Personally, for a tenner, I think they're a pretty good value, and you get loads of different sizes. There we go. I've attached some tufts. If you want to add some skulls, go for it. But that's really all there is to it. This is a really, I think, easy method. The longest part is waiting for the actual stuff to dry. I'm going to attach my guys, and you'll see them at the end in a minute. But once again, the products I use in this video: Green Stuff World Ground Texture Desert Sand, Citadel Seraphim Sepia Wash, Citadel Ushabti Bone, Citadel Screaming Skull, and once again optional Citadel Wraithbone. There is Doombull, but that's only if you're using rocks. And here you can see there's Dark Angels on top of it. Once again, I think this just frames the models really well. It makes the base stand out, and the dark green armor that's really iconic stand out as well. If you haven't seen my tutorial for the Dark Angels armor, once again, I'll leave it in the top right hand corner now. But that's it. Once again, I think this was a really easy method. It was really fun to do. I enjoy doing bases like this, and you can really go nuts on them if you want to. But that's it from me in this one. I hope you found this enjoyable, or maybe you've discovered a product that you wouldn't have otherwise used. Once again, if you like this, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. I'll see you in the next one. God bless and take care.